In November 1852, a man was brought out of the sewer that served as a dungeon for the worst criminals of Persia. His crime was to claim that society must change. He came before the court of the Shah, bowed by the chains and dressed in the rags he'd worn for 4 dark months underground, and he heard sentence pronounced against him. He was granted life on pain of banishment. He was stripped of everything that he possessed. No chance was given him to defend himself. The prisoner's name was Mirza Hussein Ali of Noor, and he was known by those who loved him as Bahá'u'lláh. Baha'u'llah was a nobleman with revolutionary ideas. He was a prince who defended the oppressed, and many called him the father of the poor. It was because he posed a puzzle to Persian society and was a threat to power that he was exiled on foot and dispossessed of all across the mountains from Tehran to Baghdad, the first of many banishments. But the king who banished him did not know that this prisoner carried a secret more weighty than his chains. What was it like to be dispossessed in the past? What was it like to be homeless when homes were built to last forever, when rich was what you were born with, and the poor were always with us? When your skin color decided whether you were one of us or one of them? What was it like to be stripped of dignity and disgraced when those were the ways you measured men and condemned women? When Baha'u'llah was exiled in 1852, he was among the dispossessed of the earth, the rejects of society, stripped of dignity, deprived of belongings and doubtful of themselves. Sufferings the same in every century.
We found no more than a handful of souls, faint and dispirited, nay, utterly lost and dead.
How do you begin again when you're faint and dispirited? Where do you find the courage to continue when the spirit is lost and dead? Regeneration is not easy. It doesn't always depend on welfare. It isn't always provided for by social security. Something more than a paycheck must revive the heart, resuscitate the soul.
Noble have I created thee.
To the eternal I call thee.
With the tidings of light I hail thee.
O Son of Man, rejoice!
Up from thy mortal cage,
and wing thy flight unto the placeless.
Guided by Baha'u'llah, the exiles in Baghdad revived. They regained faith in themselves and in the power of change. They became distinctive for their unity. They shared everything. They owned nothing. They came into possession of their true selves. A community began to emerge in Baghdad that Baha'u'llah claimed had the power to change the world. Power in the 19th century generally moved in one direction, from up to down. Leadership was imposed rather than served the general good. Authority was absolute, and those who wielded it did so absolutely. But in the middle of the last century, when Napoleon III was re-establishing one empire and the British were expanding another, a new kind of power was emerging which had nothing to do with empires. Baha'u'llah became a guiding light in Baghdad, a leading authority. Everyone was going to the coffee houses to talk about him. Everyone said people shared what they had because of him, and yet his authority was freely given. His power defied age-old definitions, and they were impressed. But he was envied as much as he was admired.
The well-known Mirza Hussein Ali of Noor is in Baghdad, and many have gathered round him with sudden expectations.
And soon the rumors began to circulate among government officials and ecclesiastic leaders.
He's surrounded by nearly 200 followers.
Secretly prompting and misleading foolish persons and ignorant weaklings.
If he could only be arrested, the rest of them will be scattered.
They number more than 3,000.
He's becoming stronger, hour by hour.
The situation is very dangerous.
We cannot procrastinate any longer.
I would request the removal of this source of mischief from a center like Baghdad.
Another banishment. But on the eve of his second banishment, in a garden outside the city, Baha'u'llah made the most astounding claim of all.
I am come to you, O people, from the throne of glory, and bear you an announcement from God.
He said this message from God was expected by all the religions of the past.
Every prophet hath announced this day, and every messenger yearned for this revelation.
The religions were one, like the sun, he said. Just as they dawned in the past, so they would rise in the future.
Every one of them is the way of God, connecting this world with the realms above. Each one of them is known by a different name, is characterized by a special attribute, and fulfills a definite mission.
The purpose of his own revelation, he told his followers, was to shelter mankind beneath the tree of unity. This was the power that drew them together. This was the secret he had carried out of Persia. And it was going to change the world. Constantinople, city of dreams and domes, was sinking into the twilight of its powers in 1863. A dying empire among the growing nations of the 19th century. Anything new was very disturbing, and so it wasn't long after Baha'u'llah arrived, acclaimed by friend and foe on every side, that rumors began to circulate once more.
Informations have been acquired through numerous channels by the internet.
In the face of these
persons of
proceedings,
consideration worthy of
complete
credence.
negligence and lack of prudence on the part of the Persian
Will
government
not do to leave Mirza Hussein Ali there, or to allow fuller scope to his mischievous ideas and probable
Orders
actions.
should be issued that the cause and root of the mischief be arrested.
By December 1863, within 4 months of his arrival, Baha'u'llah received orders to leave. It was his third banishment.